We want you to feel the thrill bumps and the goosebumps that are always present when you come into alignment. We want you to feel the clarity and stamina and vigorous nature of your being that are always present when you are in alignment with who you are. We want you to reach the place where you stop asking one other person or one other condition to change so that you can feel better, because that's the way you give your power away. You say, I don't feel good because of what you're doing, and so I'd appreciate it if you'd stop doing it so that I could feel better. And they say, what? Because everyone is selfishly oriented. They weren't born to please you. They were born to please them. And when you say, you need to do something different so that I can feel better, some of them will fake it, but none of them will do it, because nobody can do it. Don't you find it interesting that you take cultures that have been on your planet for much longer than your own culture, and then you say, we like the way we do it better, so you all should think it over? How's it working out? So when you realize that it's impossible to get even your kids to change so that you can feel better, then finally you come to awareness that it's not the outside world that needs to change. It's my lining up the energies with me, because the negative emotion you feel is not because of what somebody else is doing. The negative emotion that you feel is because the source within you is vibrating over here and you're vibrating over here. Every single time it's you ripping yourself from you that is at the basis of your not feeling good. So when you get it, that you have the ability to look at that subject and find something that feels better, or change the subject, but most important, you have the ability to focus the being that you are into alignment with the being that you are, then you're able to leave everybody else and their behavior out of the equation. And then finally, you're free. Begin right here. Yes.
Thank you for everything else. My question is more or less about being in the middle of really unpleasant contrast. How do you talk yourself out of it? Like, I feel like I'm on the verge of really reaching the spiritual state of being that I've been intending for many lifetimes. But for some reason, I'm still having issues with headaches, dizziness, panic, anxiety attacks.
This sensation is a symbol of the stream that I've set into motion and my current placement within it. I must have a little resistance going on, and that's what this sensation is. And then we would enhance it by saying, love this fast-moving stream. Standards are higher now. Want to find better feeling thoughts. And then, whatever it is in the moment that you're focused upon, identify it. Can you? When was the last time you felt that way in a very strong way?
Driving here last night.
Can you, at this point, it's sometimes not as easy, can you remember what your train of thought was?
I wish this would go away because I want to feel really good for tomorrow.
But besides that, you see, once you're aware of the physical sensation, now it's carrying it, that's what's got your attention. But what were you thinking about that got that started? In other words, that's what you want to be aware of. So focus there for a minute. It will come back to you. What were your thoughts? What were you doing before you got on the road?
Just got back from work, packed really quick.
And what was going on at work? And did any
dealing with negative patients at the hospital.
And were any of your thoughts sort of still revolving around that?
Yeah.
Well, in other words, as we were saying earlier, it's not life-changing things. It's just the day-to-day things that get your attention. And so what's happening to you is the more you meditate, the more you tune into this, the more you think about Abraham, the more you think about deliberate creating, the more you realize you are the creator of your own reality, the more you harness the energy that creates worlds, the more you gotta guide your own thoughts. So what negative thoughts are going on at work?
That I wish I could get the patients to look at what they do, want to look at health instead of being so focused on their illness and like they just want to live there.
All right, so now feel this parallel, because what we were saying to you, and you felt it, everyone did, it's really worth going back to. So we're visiting with you about the momentum of your energy and the contradictory thought you must have been thinking in order to cause that chaotic feeling within you. And we said, what was the negative thought about? And you said, the negative thought was about my dizziness. In other words, you thought that what was causing the sensation was your awareness to the creation, which we were trying to point out to you as just the indicator. It's so common for a person to complain about work and complain about their husband and complain about the government and complain about not having enough money, while that same complaint is causing their stream to go faster and faster. So all kinds of people, even those who aren't meditating yet, are asking for more through the contrast of life, and Source is always answering it, so their streams are going faster and faster while they're more and more negative, which means there's a bigger and bigger separation. It's like a giant magnifying glass has been laid over everything so that whatever it is that you're offering vibrationally has more impact. So the source energy aspect of you has stronger impact, and the current, what I'm thinking right now in this red hot minute, is having an impact. So the rich are richer, the poor are poorer, the well are weller, the sick are sicker. In other words, everything is more amplified because of this. And you all knew that. That's why this time was particularly exciting to you. You knew it would be the time when you would come into fuller awareness of how this all works. And those deliberate creators who love to mold the clay saw this as an ideal time, teachers like yourself. So in the same way that we sort of nailed you on the idea that it wasn't your thought about the dizziness, that wasn't what we wanted to hear from you. We wanted to hear the thought before that, because the dizziness was the indication of the thought. So we didn't want to talk about the indication. We wanted to talk about what caused the indication. You following? Mm-hmm. In the same way, you're wanting these patients to talk about something other than the indication. You're wanting to get to the heart of what's causing the indication. Right. And it's not an easy thing for a person to be off on their thinking and not know it, more negatively focused and asking for more, and so the stream going faster but them not going, negatively focused and asking for more, the stream going faster but they're not going with it, negatively focused, the stream going faster but they're not going with it, so they feel the tug of war more and more. And then their body begins to break down because of the discord, and then they turn their undivided attention toward the body breaking down, which just holds them in that holding pattern until eventually the doctor says nothing more can be done for you. And what you're wanting to begin to say to them is, don't want to talk about the illness, just like we don't want to talk about the dizziness with you. Don't want to talk about the indicator, want to talk about the precursor to the indicator. Want to talk about what's at the basis of bothering you. What have you been complaining about, and how did it feel? When someone has a discord in their body called a disease, what kind of things are you seeing?
Eye diseases.
That's particularly interesting, because when someone has a physical anomaly that is off enough from what you want to be normal that you give it the word disease, think about it. There is the ease of going with the stream, or there is the dis-ease of not going with the stream. So when someone is now experiencing that manifestation, and you are able to get them to stop for a moment and focus upon where they're at in terms of their indication, which in this case is the disease, and you ask them, how does this feel emotionally to you? What's the emotional component of this? Apart from any pain or anything that you would describe in a physical sense, what's the emotional sensation of this? What do you think the majority of them would say?
Bad emotion, more or less.
But what would they say in terms of how it feels? Pick one. In fact, pick the dominant, most often seen one. How does it manifest in their experience?
Anxiety.
What is the physical? What happens? Do they go blind? Do they get warts on their eyeballs? What is the manifestation?
Inflammation, chronic inflammation in the eyes.
Which gives them what sort of physical sensation?
Blurred vision. They can go blind if not treated.
And if you said, and how does this feel emotionally to you, what would they say?
Fearful.
Fearful because they're worried about going blind. But apart from the disease which frightens them, how does it feel?
Powerlessness.
Does it feel hindering? Does it feel like I can't see something that I need to see? Does it feel like there's more there for me to see, but I can't quite make it out? In other words, and there will be the range from powerlessness all the way to frustration. In other words, for some it's just hindering. For some it's just inconvenient. For some it's only annoying. For some it feels downright powerless. But once you identify, and they'll help you do it because it's rampant in their vibration, so it becomes obvious with a little bit of conversation how they're feeling. If you can then help them to see that the powerlessness didn't come over them after they got this manifestation is an indication of a chronic attitude that felt like that before the manifestation came to point it out in a stronger way. You see, don't you think that's helpful? Law of attraction is going to bring you manifestations that are exact replications of what you've been feeling. And when you are wise enough to take that post-manifestational awareness and dissect from it how it did feel, and then look for evidence of how you've been feeling, then you begin to feel invincible, because you understand everything that comes to you is nothing more than an indication of vibration. So we agree with you. It's a big job. In other words, Esther really knows this stuff, and she's still fine-tuning. They live a magnificent life, and we point out every little glitch in their experience, no matter what it is, for the sake of helping you to understand that you are all vibrational beings, and that the universe is responding to the vibration of your being. And so, as a teacher, when someone is before you with an indication, we appreciate so powerfully your wanting to help them to understand what's going on. And now you've got this. Now you'll be able to say to them, you know, this is just an indication of some feelings you've had going on. And if you can figure out what those feelings are and find a way to move them to a different place, the indicator that is coming as an indication of those feelings must shift too. As a healer, doesn't that give you a feeling of empowerment?
Oh, yeah.
Don't you love knowing that you could say to anyone, no matter what they are currently living, this does not have to be. There is no such thing as a degenerative disease. There is no such thing as a disease that will take over your body. There is no such thing as not being able to walk right back out the door that you walked in. There is no such thing as not being able to recover or come back into full healthiness. There's no such thing as that. But you've got to figure out what you're doing that got you there and stop doing it. Nice to know. So what we would say is, so what's been bothering you? What's bothering me is that I'm going blind. Well, before that, you're going blind because something's been bothering you. What is it? What? This is an indication of vibrational discord. And when you can figure out what the vibrational discord is and shift it, this will shift too. It's law. In other words, you've got to be bold enough to begin saying that. Otherwise, you're just putting Band-Aids on, and they don't go well on eyes.
Okay.
It's a lot of different things. In other words, it's not one thing, but we want to say to you, none of it is big. It's not life crises that they're worried about. It's nitty-gritty stuff, and that's the thing that we want you so much to understand so that you can convey it to them. People will say, well, it doesn't seem like anything in my life is going wrong enough that I would have to have a deadly disease over it or a degenerative disease over it or go blind over it. And we want you to be able to say to them, and no, it's not big stuff, it's little stuff. It's just chronic little stuff that grates away. And as it grates away, you get your stream moving faster. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we'd find a way to tell that story to them. We'd say to them, I know what it is. I know what is at the heart of every disease, and it's discord. Every disease is stress-related. Stress-related. They'll understand that. Stress-related. Stress-related. Every disease is stress-related. What are you stressed out about? And then when they tell you, and you're going to have a lot of variety, it'll be very entertaining, help them to turn downstream about it in the same way that we've helped you to turn downstream about it. People are going to catch on to this, because when people begin to hear words that match their true knowing, those words are heard with a keener ear. In other words, when you hear something that the larger part of you knows, the rest of you is interested in some way. Mm-hmm. Good.
Great.
So a lot of people pull in a lot of energy through you. They are asking. That's why you're dizzy.
And I'm holding back like you wouldn't believe.
They're asking when you don't answer.